Why hasn't there been a new Nightmare on Elm Street game since the days of the Nintendo Entertainment System? That was way back in the fucking 80s. Once the hottest property in horror, Nightmare on Elm Street now seems like a dead franchise, especially in the games department. But why is this? If you want to play as Jason Voorhees or a camp counselor trying to escape his machete, there's the amazingly excellent Friday the 13th game. If you want to unload your boomstick as Ash Williams, then Evil Dead has you covered with a ton of gaming options. But Nightmare on Elm Street, one of horror's biggest and most popular franchises, well, we've got to play fucking Mortal Kombat to get a piece of the Springwood slasher. It's not even the right Freddy for fuck's sake, and he has 2 gloves. What the fuck's up with that? I guess it's quite fun to bitch slap Johnny Cage in the face, but even better is Dead by Daylight, whose gameplay is definitely more fitting for Freddy, but it's only a tiny fraction of what I think we all really want. And that's to play around in the Elm Street universe with a fully licensed Nightmare on Elm Street game. Now that would definitely get my joystick twitching. Since the movie's release in 1984, Nightmare on Elm Street has only had 2 licensed games. The relatively unknown and forgotten about Commodore 64 title that has you playing as the Dream Warriors in an effort to find Freddy's house and save the souls of your friends. An interesting game that was possibly too ambitious for the time. And then there's the more well-known NES title, a game that's more famous due to the classic AVGN episode rather than its own merits.
Ooh yeah, play that shitty game!
James's sentiments about the NES nightmare ring true for almost all licensed horror movie games of the period. You know, they were either
Buffalo diarrhea fuck farts,
or basically had fuck all to do with the movies that they were representing. I mean, you wouldn't believe which horror movies have been made into games over the years. There's the big franchises like Halloween, Friday the 13th, and, The Entity. Cult horror classics have also gotten in on the digital action too. Fright Night the game, how fucking cool is that? And perhaps most randomly, a game based on Clive Barker's Nightbreed. Okay, so you're gonna make a Nightbreed game over a Hellraiser game. Wait, what? 2 fucking Nightbreed games? Bad licensed horror games changed forever in 2017, when us Friday the 13th fans got what we waited almost 40 years for. A game that lets us play out our Friday fantasies as Jason Voorhees and kill some camp counselors. Friday the 13th the game was a labour of love for Gun Media and Ilphonic, who brought the Friday franchise slashing and stabbing into the modern gaming landscape. I played this game to hell back when it released, and I still consider it the best asymmetrical multiplayer game to date. It's full of lore and love for the film series, with the horror elements cleverly transformed into gameplay mechanics. They made a game that fit the franchise, rather than just making the franchise fit into an existing game genre. You were fucking Jason Voorhees. Or Chad, you know, if that's what you were into. Evil Dead and Texas Chainsaw took notes, and whilst I didn't get hooked on Evil Dead as much as I would have liked, Texas Chainsaw is proving to be more popular than Grandad's head cheese at the local county fair. So where does Nightmare on Elm Street fit into all of this? Well, as far as licensing Nightmare on Elm Street for game-related content, it's been possible in the past. As we've already seen, Freddy has appeared as a DLC character in both Dead by Daylight and Mortal Kombat. In September 2019, we learnt that Wes Craven's estate had secured the rights to the Elm Street franchise, and in November of that year, it was said that they were actively taking pitches for a new movie. And although things have been moving slowly since then, with a universe so rich in lore and depth, I would have thought that developers would have been stabbing each other in the Johnny Cage to get the game rights to the franchise. Or, you know, at least make some legally safe knockoffs.
Looks like some sort of legally safe knockoff of an 80s horror character.
Every town has an Elm Street.
Could it be that the NES game was so bad that the Craven estate won't even entertain the idea of another Nightmare on Elm Street game? Well, the original Friday the 13th game was no picnic by Crystal Lake either, so things can definitely be turned around in the right hands. I just think that the new rights holders are being careful about how they handle the property. After all, the 2010 reboot nearly finished off the franchise for good. This is Wes Craven's family after all, and they're way more likely to handle the IP with care and respect. I also think that a new movie has to come first. A new game is all well and good, but a kick-ass movie is what's really needed to bring the franchise back from the ashes. And another part of the equation could be that maybe nobody knows what a new and improved Nightmare on Elm Street game would actually look like. After all, the franchise is more unique and complex than standard slashers like Friday in Texas, and translating that into a satisfying game experience could be difficult. But luckily for everyone on the internet, I've got my own big ideas on what it could be like. And since Friday the 13th's game rocked so hard, I think that's probably the best place to start. Now imagine how fucking cool an asymmetrical game set in Springwood would be. One player living the Freddy dream with the others going all Dream Warriors on his ass. A Dream World mechanic could be implemented so each map would have two versions, real world Springwood locations and a shadowy Dream World parallel where Freddy has more power. Each playable character could have their own strengths and weaknesses whilst awake, plus their own special dream power when they enter the dream world. And no, Joey, talking doesn't count as a special power. You could have a sleep meter that constantly runs down, forcing you to find coffee or sleeping pills to keep from falling asleep. Some tasks could also require the players to actively enter the dream world, and players could buddy up and watch over each other just like Joey and Will did in the movie. There's enough different Freddys to keep gameplay varied, with each iteration of Freddy having his own unique skills and playstyles, sort of like the demons in Evil Dead.
Now I'm playing with power!
For example, Part 2 Freddy could be strong in the real world, possessing and controlling players and other creatures, but be weaker than the other Freddys in the dream world.
Now I'm playing with power!
Part 3 Freddy, by contrast, could be quite weak in the real world, only being able to take skeletal form for short periods or with long cooldowns. But he could be an absolute beast in the dream world. Whilst Part 4 Freddy could have a dog that pisses fire over everybody and rely more on visual trickery than brute strength.
Now
Shut the fuck up, Part 6 Freddy. The different Freddys could even be dispatched in different ways, like for example Part 1 Freddy, players might have to pull him into the real world and then set up traps, and for Part 3 players have to search for Freddy's remains and bury them in consecrated ground, and Part 6 Freddy could just go and fuck himself because his movie is a piece of shit. There's just so many juicy lore nuggets to mine. I get really excited thinking about all the possibilities, and this is just one type of game. The opportunities here are insane. How about a Remedy-inspired story-driven game in the vein of Alan Wake, slowly uncovering the disturbing legend by day, and then fighting off Freddy and your own tiredness by night, much like Nancy does in the original movie. Or a Silent Hill-inspired creepy as fuck survival horror game. The original's world-warping mechanic would be a really nice fit for Nightmare's dream world. Thanks to Friday the 13th, things are pretty hot in the world of licensed horror gaming right now. We've had Evil Dead, Blair Witch Project, Texas Chainsaw. Hell, even Killer Clowns from Outer Space are taking a slice of the cream pie. And although not strictly horror movie related,
Resident Evil.
Or are they? I'm confused. Anyway, Capcom's Resident Evil remakes are proving to be insanely popular. So will us Freddy fans finally get the game we deserve? Now really is the time, before the boiler room dims and fades out on licensed horror games.
Now I'm
Look mate, you might as well just go and watch another video. He's just going to be going on with himself for fucking ages.
playing with power! Jump away! Whoa! Jump away! Boing, boing! Pow! Jump away! Boing, boing! Oh, yeah! Jump away! Oh, yeah. I beat my high score.